Okay. Joining us now from Capitol Hill, former Secretary of Homeland Security, now Executive Chairman of the Chertoff Group, Michael Chertoff. He has endorsed Hillary Clinton for president. Mike Barnacle, take it.
Mr. Chertoff, seeing that you've endorsed Hillary Clinton for president, do you think, hope, or believe that there would be a significant difference in a Clinton administration policy towards Syria as opposed to the President Obama administration?
Mike, I actually do. I think that at the time that the proposal for a no-fly zone and a safe zone in Syria was put on the table, I think that Secretary Clinton advocated for that. President Obama, I think, did not accept that advice. And I think that was a big mistake and led to the crisis we see in Europe now, as well as the horrible war crimes that are being committed by Syrians and Russians in Aleppo. So having talked to her and having observed her, I think she'd be, frankly, much tougher than President Obama on these issues.
Willie.
How specifically do you think she'd be different? Do you think she would enforce no-fly zones, some of the things she's talked about in the past, and are those even viable at this point now, 5.5 years in?
You know, I think we're at a stage now we're going to have to look at the landscape and see how viable it is. And we've clearly lost a lot of time and a lot of lives, and we've seen a tremendous crisis in Europe ensue because of what we failed to do. But at least let's not make the problem worse. Let's not keep digging. And I do think her vision of being tougher in terms of rolling back ISIS and tougher with the Russians is a dose of what we need right now.
Mr. Chertoff, Donald Trump continually maintains that America is less safe now than it has ever been since Barack Obama became president. Do you believe that?
Well, look, we're a lot safer than we were on September 11th, and we continue to have a good structure in place to protect us from people coming in to carry out terrorist attacks. But there's no doubt that the situation has deteriorated in the last couple of years with the rise of ISIS, the increase of foreign fighters. And we see that particularly in Europe, but we've seen some of the inspired attacks here in the United States. And some of that involves social media being used to recruit and train. Some of it involves just people who on their own affiliate themselves with ISIS. So we are beginning to see the kind of multiplication of low-level attacks, which we now see a lot of in Europe.
Nicole Wallace.
Good morning. It's Nicole Wallace. I wonder if you are surprised that with people like yourself and former Secretary Bob Gates, and I think there are 50 former Bush officials in the national security apparatus who have endorsed Secretary Clinton, that she hasn't opened up a bigger lead against Donald Trump, particularly on this question of national security. I know she has an advantage, but are you surprised that her lead isn't larger on the question of national security and foreign policy?
You know, Nicole, I'm not a political pundit. I don't know how arguments translate into leads or how accurate polling is. What I do know is that for people who really care about security, we are at a time where there's a lot of risk out there. It's not just terrorism. Yeah. It's a very aggressive Russia. It's a more aggressive China. And what you need is the ability to make steady, good judgments. And I think when people go in the voting booth and they reflect upon temperament and upon what people have said about our friends and what they've said about our adversaries, it's clear that Secretary Clinton has a sound approach to the world. And frankly, Mr. Trump seems to embrace our adversaries and is disdainful of our friends.
So, let's build on that in our final moments. Secretary Chertoff, you've endorsed Hillary Clinton, obviously. That's a big decision. Why not Donald Trump? What worries you? What's at stake?
Look, what worries me first of all is temperament. You know, you can surround yourself with advisors, but in the end, as Nicole knows, the president makes the decision. And even take this incident at 3 o'clock in the morning after the debate, the first debate with Secretary Clinton. Why would you waste time pursuing an issue involving whether someone, Miss Universe, gained too much weight when there are other more important things to be talking about or tweeting about? The embrace of Putin and suggesting that he's somehow admirable because he praises Donald Trump, that really reverses the kind of message we ought to be sending to our friends. I'll leave you with this. I do a lot of travel. I spend a lot of time overseas with our senior officials from our allies. They are worried about Donald Trump and whether he will be a reliable ally. And that's something we cannot afford to have given the current state of the world.
Michael Chertoff, thank you very much for joining us here on Morning Joe.
Good to be on.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.